Video games have only existed in the mainstream for a little over 45 years. These days, gaming has come a long way from text-based adventures and random pixels. We have stunningly realistic graphics that are sometimes comparable to high-end animation in film and television. And sometimes we use Call of Duty in real news footage. Stupid. Today, we're taking a look back to see how we got here by trying to identify some of the games that are the most responsible for shaping the evolution of the medium itself. The amount of games made over the last 30 years is staggering. So today, we're zeroing in on the 1990s, the era that saw games go beyond the 2D platformer and start building the diverse landscape of genres and styles of today. This is Gamma Ray, and these are the top 10 most influential games of the 1990s. At number 10, while racing games always held a modicum of popularity, before Gran Turismo arrived in 1997, racing simulators did not. While GT may not have invented the genre, its scope was unheard of when it released and set the bar for all future titles. The game sported 140 licensed cars and a physics engine of unrivaled realism. They simulated the actual level of grip the vehicle's tires have with the road and dressed it up with the most realistic graphics a 32-bit console could ever muster. They painstakingly aimed for a never-before-seen level of realism interesting only to car enthusiasts, but still managed to make it fun for everybody. Chucking cars into corners, drifting through curves, and feeling the rumble of the road through the brand new DualShock controllers was epic. It remains PlayStation's best-selling first-party property and is surely the most important racing game ever made. At number 9 is 1996
Resident Evil.
Fun fact, my parents wouldn't let me play this game. While the distinction of having pioneered the survival horror genre in gaming goes to Alone in the Dark and Sweet Home, of which Resident Evil was effectively a remake, this 1996 zombie mansion escape game popularized the entire genre. Resident Evil has become a staple part of pop culture across a multitude of mediums, and we totally ignore the movies. The franchise gave us some great titles and increasingly terrifying and dynamic adventures early on. My personal favorite, Silent Hill 2, and a long list of other titles in horror gaming, simply wouldn't exist without Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine fighting for their lives in that damned Raccoon City mansion. We salute your service. At number 8, when it comes to fighting games, 1992's Mortal Kombat was a sensation when it dropped, largely because of its violence and gore.
Get over here!
The controversy included a rash of court cases and eventually led to the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. Great! There were even congressional hearings about it that continue to this day.
Blood splatters from the contestants' heads. When a player wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent. Finish his opponent.
It paved the way for video games with more adult and mature thematic premises. So we needed to take a second and give it its due, but our pick is actually 1991's Street Fighter II. Capcom's one-on-one 2D fighter set the standard. The game built a solid foundation for a genre that had previously never found a footing. By combining accessible control systems for a novice with layers of depth for dedicated players, Capcom created a style, mechanics, and gameplay that were replicated for years before any major innovations were added. It also features an unforgettable cast with some of the most iconic characters in gaming to date. Managed to turn Shoryuken into a household term. Shoryuken, Shoryuken, Shoryuken. Planted the seed for one of the most passionate communities in all of gaming, where we first started to hear the use of the word sport.
I'm pissed off. He fireball trapped me in the corner.
Number 7. Yeah, 1991's Sid Meier's Civilization established the core mechanics of explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate that have defined strategy games ever since. And yes, 1995's Command & Conquer caused a shift from simple strategy to real-time battles, raised eyebrows with the ability to control characters en masse, and added the idea of paying for units with gathered resources. But no game has ever left an impact in strategy as deep as 1998's Starcraft. You know it, I know it, do not lie to yourselves. Sorry, I really love Starcraft. Its addition to the real-time strategy genre was simple. Previous games pitted two sides against each other, but Starcraft added a third unique element. That might sound basic, but the layer of strategy and depth that small step demanded redefined the genre and built a phenomenon that led to the rise of esports. Starcraft even made its way into being the fan-proclaimed national esport of Korea. That is correct. Number 6. Next up, we have the surprisingly beautiful, yet annoyingly difficult point-and-click adventure Myst. I never finished this game! While The Secret of Monkey Island did come out in 1990, and is often cited as one of the most influential games of all time, and we fought over its inclusion, Myst added an element in 1993 that would fundamentally affect storytelling in games forever. Instead of pushing players down a linear path, the game bounced us around time and space, asking the player to fill in the plot based on clues dotted throughout the world. BioShock, Skyrim, Fallout, The Remains of Edith Finch, and a variety of other twisted narratives exist thanks to this bad boy. On top of that, the game popularized PC gaming as a hobby. That's right, Myst was one of the first releases with such impressive sales that it actually helped cement the CD-ROM as a format and launched the PC Master Race. So maybe we don't thank them for that. Number 5, let's talk about platformers. The original Super Mario Bros. Set the standard for 2D in 1985, but by the mid-90s, pressure was on to take the genre into 3D. There have been numerous attempts like Alpha Waves and Bugs! But while there were some incredible standouts, cut to Sony's Crash Bandicoot, let's stay with Crasher just a little bit longer. Oh, that's nice. Let the nostalgia just wash over you. In terms of overall impact, Super Mario 64 undeniably proved that the third dimension was legit.
Hello!
In the first few years of consoles, developers seemed scared of 3D, but Super Mario 64 effectively demonstrated that 3D levels and cameras could work, even how they should work. After that, 3D was king, and there was no turning back.
Thank you, Mario.
Number 4, I am not getting into a fight about whether or not 1997's Final Fantasy VII was the best of the series or one of the best RPGs in history, okay? We're not gonna do it. But it is extremely important. Final Fantasy VII established the market for Japanese role-playing games in the West and transitioned the Final Fantasy franchise from Nintendo to PlayStation. Love it or hate it, Final Fantasy VII is the most popular entry in the series. Its cutscenes were a huge hit on release, and the move from 2D to 3D graphics built a lot of hype. It seriously was almost single-handedly responsible for the success of the PlayStation. The game hit the West like a comet, and thanks to booming sales of the game and the console, many Japanese RPGs now considered to be classics were given a platform. This is where it gets even harder. Man, the rest of this is just so difficult. Okay, we want to talk about how Pokemon Red vs. Blue set the stage not only for large-scale franchising from games, but also for the mobile gaming revolution. We also want to talk about how Tomb Raider pioneered the action genre that would grow to become third-person shooters like Uncharted and The Last of Us. And on top of that, despite her controversial proportions, Lara Croft set the stage for a new era of mainstream female protagonists. But we're told by our evil corporate overlords and the rental fee in the sound booth that we only have 10 slots, so I'm just adding that as a small interstitial rant, okay? Number 3, 1998's Metal Gear Solid. Kept you waiting, huh? I hate myself. The series as a whole has become iconic in the gaming world, and so has its director Hideo Kojima. While mechanics and story are often at odds with each other in games, Metal Gear Solid proved that there was room for both. The tight stealth gameplay made every room full of guards a unique puzzle, and the boss battles were incredibly memorable. All of it was made even more enjoyable thanks to a cutting-edge story that didn't talk down to its players. By using the full CD-ROM storage of the PS1, it mixed in cinematic cutscenes at a level never before seen. That decision actually pushed the medium from clever programming to one of the most sophisticated narratives in games, and it matured the medium as a whole.
People just aren't complete without some type of character flaw, don't you think?
And don't pretend like your mind wasn't blown when Psycho Mantis read your flippin' save card. That shit broke my mind.
So, you like Suikoden? So, you like Azure Dreams?
Like, come on! That game just messed with you all the time. What happened? Number 2, 1999's EverQuest. Of all the choices we debated, EverQuest's legacy is often downplayed. The game itself was addictive and created a binge-worthy world that would rival reality for a whole slew of dedicated players. The design was fantastic, but more importantly, for the first time, players could go down the set story paths or they could make their own stories by working together with other players. EverQuest was the proof of concept for modern MMOs. It mixed the online interaction that Tibia, The Realm, Meridian 59, and others had developed, and the new gaming standard of 3D design. It proved that people want to make new gear, build up identifiable characters, get together with new friends they'd never met in person, and mortgage their home to ensure they can pay a monthly subscription fee. Progress! No, but seriously, it was great. Last up, number 1. This is the hardest choice of all. In this slot, we're tackling first-person shooters. How could we not pick GoldenEye, or Quake, or Wolfenstein 3D, or Half-Life? You get the idea. This is hard, okay? In the end, we just had to go with the fact that before first-person shooters, fans just called them Doom clones. That's right, it's Doom. Settle the F down. We're talking 1 Space Marine, 8 weapons, and a shit ton of demon-like monsters begging to be destroyed. Doom picked up what Wolfenstein put down and added more gore, more ambiance, and more raw adrenaline-inducing gameplay in a way no game ever had. Developers spent years trying to achieve the feelings Doom created in gamers. It exited arcades and teenage bedrooms and entered work cubicles and school computer labs. It sent, yes again, government officials into a panic, and it solidified first-person shooters as a multi-million-dollar industry, defining the lives of hundreds of developers for the next 30-plus years. So yeah, it seems influential. And that's our list. Thanks for watching, and make sure to let us know what your favorites are, or if we couldn't squeeze something into the top 10 on what we obviously missed and how we're idiots. We'll do better next time. Like, share, do all those things, and make sure to subscribe to Gamma Ray for more awesome content. And we'll see you next time.